Our next speaker is a Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling author of a couple of books, Move and ABM is B2B. He has a story filled with grit and courage. This is something that was very intriguing to me as I was doing a little research. Moved to the U.S. from India at 25 years old with just $350 in his pocket. That in itself, just a huge step of courage. He then earned his master's degree, then led the marketing at Pardot, and then co-founded his first startup, Terminus, and grew it to a multi-million-dollar company, so I'm sure lots of ups and downs through that. And then recently co-founded his business advisory firm, Go-to-Market Partners, and he's a student and teacher of the business of leadership and life. I don't know that I've ever heard it described that way. Student teacher of the business of leadership and life, but I'm sure there are lots of parallels there, and we get to hear about it right now. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Sangram Vajre.
What? How's everybody doing? Excited? What song is that? How many of you have watched it? How many have watched it more than once? More than 10 times? All right. We're in a good company. We're in a good place. All right, let me tell you a question somebody asked me about 3 years into building Terminus that we were just hearing about. This was a VC who was going to give us a big fat check, about $100 million, to invest in our business. And he asked straight directly to me, Sangram, are you growing as fast as your business is growing? The company was growing from like $1 million the first year, then 5 in the second, 15 in the third. So we were on a rocket ship. And I got to have front row seats of building something amazing. And he literally looked dead in my eyes and said, man, are you growing as fast as your company is growing? Guess what? I looked dead back into his eyes and said, yes, and I was lying. Because what else are you going to say? He had a $100 million check like sitting in the balance of what my response was in some ways. But in deep down, I knew that I'm not growing. I'm just lucky and blessed to do what I'm doing right now, but this is crazy. A few weeks later, I came home from an event that we were having with our customers, and as we walked in, I was talking to my wife, and she was sitting in the dark, and she was asked this question to me, Sangram, do you think we're growing, there's that word again, in our relationship? We're on the brink of divorce. So here I am, where the company is going from $1 million to 5 to 15. Our marriage is gone from 5 years to 10 years to 15 years, pretty much the same time. And we're having this conversation, am I growing as fast as my company and also in my relationship? That's a tough question to answer. And I didn't have an answer for her. I didn't have an answer for the VC. And at that time, I realized the problem that I'm dealing with is simply this, that I wanted to be the most brilliant person anywhere I am and anywhere I can. And the reason is because when I came from India, when I came to the States, and when I started to do any work, I'm like, I don't have a plan B. I better be the best. I better do any and everything to do whatever it takes to be successful. Like, that's literally my plan. That's it. So when you think like that, what happens is you do get a tunnel vision, and you actually can become successful in something that absolutely does help you. But along the way, there are a lot of dead bodies around you. A lot of people, a lot of relationships, a lot of things, they just pass on because you don't even have the insight or the foresight to understand what's going on around you. And I was experiencing that all around me, just not at the moment I was going through. So here's the lesson I learned. I learned that becoming intentional is way more important than being brilliant. I want you to write it down, because this was like a God-given download I got that day, because I was like, what is happening? Why am I not able? I think I'm doing good in business. I think I'm trying. But what I wasn't doing, I wasn't intentional. I was just grabbing whatever was coming my way and going at it all in. But I wasn't intentional as to why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? And the way to think about that, for me at least, and hopefully for some of you, is that, are you intentional? So that day onwards, I just started to look at everything with a lens of intentionality. I'll give you a couple of examples. But at work, I was like, all right, I gotta fix things at work. So as I started my new company, the first thing I did was I'm gonna write every single week how am I building this company so I can be true to my knowledge, my understanding, my growth. I just want to write every single week. And I started to just write it for myself, and I started to put it out there on social media. And then now we have over 11,000 people who just read every single week. And we did not know, or I did not know at that time that that's going to change other people's way of looking at a business. But it was every single day. I'm like, I don't know, is this going to be a business? Is this going to be a product? Is this going to be a service? Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? I did not know. But I wanted to document it so that I know 2, 3, 4 years from now, what was I thinking and how did I make my decisions? You know, we go by life sometimes without really knowing, and we just, years pass by and we're like, I don't know what happened. But when you document it, you can actually go back to it. So I highly encourage, no matter where you are in your journey, start documenting. You don't have to share with the world. You need to just document it so you can go back and see, were you intentional enough at that moment? I started to look at this like, how can I do that as a family? So here's what we did. My wife and we have 2 kids, and a few years ago we said, you know what? We're going to create a mission statement. Anybody created a mission statement for their family? Some of you? You know, I said, like every company I've built, you have a mission statement, right? And you have a set of core values. I got a set of kids. Those are my products. So we need to figure out a way to just know how are we going to lead our organization and do well. So together, we came up with a mission statement. You want to hear it? Yes. All right. It literally says, Vajres always make it through. We're going through some tough time, all right? Vajres always make it through with God's love, grace, and truth. So the core values are God's love, grace, and truth. But at the very outset is that Vajres always make it through. And the point of all of that was to make sure that we have a North Star, not made up of rules, but intentionality around it. So one day my son comes home and he just runs frantically inside the door. And when my wife and I, we were sitting and having coffee, and he says, Papa, I said the F word. Like, there's a moment for intentionality and patience. I was like, oh, tell me more. And my wife is like, what are you doing? He said the F word. And I'm like, just give me one moment, please. And like, so what happened? So he blurted out, somebody said this, somebody said that, so I said this. I'm like, okay, so what are you going to do about it? He's like, well, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to try to do this. I'm so sorry. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, you got a process and a system to do that, right? Yeah, I think so. I'm like, all right, go. He's like, what? You're not mad at me? I'm like, no, look. We said Vajres always make it through with God's love, grace, and truth. So you told me the truth. You told us what went wrong. That's what we want from you. We don't want any other way. And if you gave us the truth, we're going to love you. You'll have grace. But if you don't tell us the truth and we find out another way, you're going to be in trouble. So that's where intentionality comes in. When I think about everything that we do in work, in life, you got to have a North Star. And if you have a North Star, then you know, no matter how you're going about it, you're going to get there. But you have to have intentionality. There's another thing that my daughter did. She said, hey, I Googled you. When your 9-year-old daughter Googles you, they better not find something that you're not proud of. I'm like, yeah, well, okay, why were you Googling me? She's like, well, I Googled you and I saw a bunch of pictures and videos, but I didn't find anything about me. I'm like, well, I'm glad there's nothing about you. I don't think you need to have a whole lot of things about you. But she's like, no. When I put my name, Kiara Vajre, I want to see something. I'm like, if you do something, good or bad, people are going to write about it. She's like, well, can I write a book like you did? I'm like, you're 9. Are you sure? She's like, yeah, I want to write it. I'm like, okay. And she keep hounding me about it. And I was like, 9. I'm like, okay, just create some outline. I just give a high-level view and just go do this thing. If you do this, I'll publish it by your birthday, the 9th. After 3 months, she came to me and literally handed the manuscript. And at this point, now she's 10. Last year, October 31st, she has written 2 books. and published on Amazon. Can we give it up for her? Yeah? I hope she doesn't write more books than I do right now. I've like got 3. The point being, like, she is now intentional about it. She has a North Star. She said, you know what, I can do this. She has all the confidence in the world. So no matter where you are right now, I just want you to invite you to this idea of intentionality. Be intentional, because becoming intentional is more important than what? Being brilliant. There you go. Thank you so much.